Most investors don't know that silicon metal manufacturing is the largest emitter of CO2 on a per ton basis on the planet. Why is that important? Well, HPQ Silicon is on the verge of disrupting the manufacturing process of something called fumed silica, which uses silicon metal and is used in cosmetics, toothpaste, powdered food, and other applications that we run into on a daily basis. How disruptive is HPQ Silicon's brand new process? Energy consumption, 93% less. Greenhouse gas emissions, 88% lower. Hydrogen chloride gas, completely eliminated from the process. And CapEx, which is the initial investment you need to build these plants, is 93% less. To say it's disruptive is an understatement of epic proportions. So more than just talk, the fumed silica industry has taken notice, as evidenced by multiple NDAs with leading manufacturers immediately after HPQ announced last summer the successful production of fumed silica samples through its proprietary reactor technology. And now they've signed a press release. They've announced a press release. HPQ signs NDA with Industrial Group to explore fumed silica plant joint venture. Bernard, welcome back, buddy.
Welcome, sir. It's been long. It's been long. Long. No. I'm just joking.
So the phone, I always say this when you put up press releases, and everyone's used to this now, where I say, hey, Bernard, do you expect the phone to keep ringing as a result of this press release? So in this press release, you actually say the January 10th press release seems like the one that led to this industrial group's interest in your fumed silica reactor. Is that true? Is that what's happening? The more you keep putting up this fumed silica news, because that's what happened when you announced production, that you can produce it, NDA. Now you got another one. Is that what's happening? Is the industry really taking notice of HPQ?
It is really starting notice, because not sure if I discussed this or not, but every time I issue a press release, at least one of the parties I'm under NDA with comes back and asks me a follow-up question, and we discuss about what I say moving forward. So I know that they're reading my press release. People got to realize that sometimes, first of all, I write NDAs to inform I write press release to inform shareholders how we're progressing and moving forward toward the objective of monetization our technology. If you have the greatest gizmo in the world and you don't talk about it, nobody's going to know that you have it, right? So that's one of the reasons I'm doing this. And the feedback I get from some people get to be truly interested by what we have, and this is what this NDA represents. A group is truly interested by the financial potential of this project.
And I'm presuming it's all the benefits that I kind of talked about in the intro, that you've got the graph in this press release again, that great graph that just shows side by side your advantages. Is that what's turning heads? Like when you have this conversation with this industrial group, and I'll ask about them in a second, but when you had your initial conversation, that phone rang, said, let's do an NDA. Is that what they're looking at? Is that what's driving the interest?
Well, it's part of it. How can I say this? The margin, that we're talking about, for an industrial projects are stratospheric. You do realize, that a high-tech venture has an 80% profit margin because it's only a computer software that they resell. That's why they have so much margin. In this specific case, and that's maybe something that people don't fully understand or get. All right, that the 60% profit margin that we've announced is actually based on the selling price of the material that we made. It is not based on the selling price of the material quality that we think we're going to be making, which we know we're going to be making, because there's different quality in fumed silica. All right. So we've made one quality that, as one of the parties that looks at it would say, this fits this category, and we would buy it as this category, and this is about the selling price it goes for. And we get a 60% profit margin. Now, if we make one quality above, then the percentage gets higher. So having an industrial project that has this type of profitability attracts interest. Now, We are
It's almost
just
disbelief, Bernard, is almost
well,
disbelief.
disbelief.
You get that
Yeah,
call from a George Com industrial group and says, "Hey, we read your press release. We don't believe your numbers. Let's talk about it, but we're interested." Do you get any of that where the numbers almost too good to be true, and people ask you, "Hey,
those that think the numbers are true, and they're going to be calling. Listen, this is going to be just like in anything in life. Okay, it is too good to be true until it is true, and when it is true, it's too late for the people that thought it was too good to be true. Okay, I can tell you that some of the discussions that we're having with some of the groups, they're thinking, okay, we'll wait till the pilot plant is ready. But that's normal. That is called, this is where anticipation gets created. This is where speculation comes into it. Okay, this is the part it is. But in this specific case, all right, we've made it at pilot scale, at lab scale. Okay, the pilot scale is being built, will be operational by the middle of the year based on the information we've published so far. So by the middle of the year, okay, as one of the companies sent me, there's really two equations to answer. Okay, can it scale up? We believe it does. And the second one is, does the financial model make sense to invest? Yes. So at which specific moment somebody comes in and says, shh, I cannot take a risk, I got to pluck it down, comes in. These guys were first to move, were first movers, and they have some specific, unique advantages, okay, that really makes it worth our while for HPQ to really want to work with them.
So this group here has got advantages over the other 3 NDAs that you've already announced.
You got to separate the two, okay? The 3 NDAs we had, and I wrote that in the press release, okay? The first 3 NDAs, okay, were people that actually make and sell that material, aka traditional industry, which we're going to be replacing, okay? This one is an industrial group that has some assets, okay, that would merge very, very well to allow HPQ to start monetizing and commercialization. That's what we're doing, okay? So for them, they see the opportunity in this, and they see an opportunity in what HPQ is developing. HPQ is developing industrial processes that are green, okay, for a material that's in demand, that is very profitable. 60% profit margin? Grows like EBITDA on top, but still.
So the press release says, amongst other things, that one of the purposes of the NDA is to allow a little bit of time for mutual due diligence, which is standard.
Yeah.
How walk us through what the cadence might look like on this NDA. How long will the due diligence need or require? I'm assuming you set up a data room, they set up a data room, and you do some due diligence. But how long do you think that might take place, ballpark? And then what happens after that once you guys are happy with each other? And I mean, when the due diligence pans out and you want to really move ahead, how does the relationship look at that point?
Well, I cannot foresee how the relationship is going to look at the end. We know what we're looking for, where we're going for this. As for the process, it is ongoing. You know, it's like, you know, a press release is issued the exact day after we signed this, and it's been moving very, very fast. Like, and that's what I said. The speed of makes me very comfortable about where we're going. Now it's gonna, you know, get down to a bit more the nitty gritty what it's gonna be looking like. But I think both parties have some, you know, can extract great benefit from this transaction, and that's what we're looking for. The fact is that HPQ has a technology, so we are a technology developer. Okay, Pyrogenesis will manufacture it, but HPQ owns the process, the patent, the technology. So then we're now entering the phase where, okay, how are we going to monetize this? Okay. One process is, okay, HPQ is going to grow, build a big company, start building their own plant. That means more dilution. And then people are going to say, oh my God, dilution before revenue comes in. Okay, that's one strategy. The other strategy is you license your technology to somebody else. Third technology is you partner up with somebody that brings that industrial part. You bring the technology, the knowledge, and everything else. Everything moves together. And what we have as an extra bonus to come in is that the 3 first NDAs will want to sign off-take agreement once we get there, or even before. So HPQ
So
brings
this potentially, if it works out well, doesn't cross out 1, 2, or 3 of the NDAs previous. It may in fact enhance those because you're moving faster towards production of
yes, and
1,000 ton
it
per
might
year
actually
fumed silica reactor, and they may say, okay, we want to buy your stuff now.
it is not an unrealistic expectation that it might force them, one of them, to say, schmuck, we got to come in. Okay. This is a technical reality right now. In Europe, which could be an end product to our material, okay, their profitability is down to 0 because of the green tax. Simple as that. So, our process could, our process can move, and the market size for what we're doing, okay, is so big, okay, that in our internal planning over the next 15 years, we could end up having 51,000 ton per year plant, and then the financial numbers goes through the roof. So it is the first, this NDA is the first concrete step toward monetization regarding being in a position to give out revenues. Now, I looked at the questions that were asked, and people, it's sort of funny. I'm just explaining the steps we're taking to go there, okay? And
Sure.
says, this is step 1, milestone reach. It's a milestone. We've reached that milestone, okay? Then they're asking me, at step 10, where are we? Like, I'm not at step 10 yet. I'm at step 1. Step 1 was this one. But it should be a clear indication to investors, the market, that there is something in HPQ, especially our fumed silica technology, that's worth something.
So this joint venture calls for, if everything goes well, the construction of 1,000 ton per year FSR, fumed silica reactor.
Mhm.
Ballpark, if everything went well, when might that happen? 6 months, 12 months, just ballpark. I want to make clear to everybody at home.
Look,
I'm not trying
I
to pin you
suggest
down to a date.
people to no, George. I suggest people, okay, yeah, that they go take a look at the deck, which we haven't done the deck. Oh, this is another one. This is on the deck about fumed silica. Re-engineering fumed silica. They go take a look at the deck, okay, on page 11. All right. So we're showing one potential timeline to go to full scale. I believe that maybe maybe demand will be such that we will speed up that demand, but we have one, we're showing there one. So we're talking.
Okay, I don't have the deck in front of me right
No,
now.
but I'm just,
memorize-
we're talking like, it's gonna take a little bit of time to build a plant. It
course.
doesn't happen overnight. But we will have the first plant, the pilot plant that will start to produce materials. And once the pilot plant phase is finished, they'll start to do commercial. Then we will be signing offtake agreements with multiple parties. At that moment, the value is going to go up because you're going to have somebody that's committing themselves to buy the material that validate at least a 60%, profit margin.
Okay, again, because I don't have the deck in front of me, what does it say on page 11? Ballpark when the first 1,000 ton
2026,
may be,
2027.
if everything goes well with this collaboration. And it may not. Like you're saying in the press release, there's no guarantee of anything.
Well, no, George.
Ballpark,
If it isn't,
when we see the first.
Okay, I believe when I did this timeline planning, that wasn't taking into consideration that joint venture. Okay, so the worst case scenario that I'm presenting here is probably around 2027. It will be commercially operational, but maybe with this joint venture we can shrink the timeline by a year, end of 2026, or maybe it's you got to put time.
You took a conservative approach in your deck because you didn't want to make the best case scenario in the deck. And then this comes along. So this seems like it came along really fast.
Well,
This industrial group NDA.
Well, yeah, as I said, it came after the press release issue of January 10th. We're February 1st. So, take a week for them to try to communicate with me and us finding time to start talking. And then, then we got to do the NDA, which is a 3-party because Pyro's going to get involved in the technology. And then we do that. And as we advance the discussion, that's just That's just where it is. That's how it works.
Are you able to elaborate on where this reactor might get built? Are you able to? A lot of us probably assuming Quebec because you're in Quebec and Quebec's got a good hydro scene and all that, but I don't know. It could
No,
be somewhere else in the world, like this
at this
industrial group.
at this moment, for tactical reasons, we're not divulging anything.
So it could be somewhere else in the world. It could be Europe. It could be right outside your front door. Everything is on the table.
What you understand is I'm not divulging anything.
Yeah.
No comment.
Hey, I got to push though, right? Because everyone at
I know,
home
I
is
know, I
watching
know.
this or listening is going to say, "Come on, George, keep pushing them." But are you? So I'll leave it at that. Are you surprised at the speed at which? Because when you first started talking about fume silica, a lot of fudsters out there saying, "Uh-oh, I think he's talking about fume silica. It's a bait and switch because the QRR isn't going well." And you said, "Nope, guys, listen to me. We've got this. We've got this, and I think that we're going to attract interest from a lot of major players around the world." And bam, it's just happened. I mean, this is the fourth NDA now, and it sounds like a pretty. It's not It's not George Calm Silica, that's for sure. So this sounds like a pretty serious group. Are you even surprised at the speed, Bernard, at how fast all of this has been unfolding? Because here we are, February 1st, and what was it? Summertime, June, when you said we manufactured our first fume silica samples in our lab, and we're ready to send out samples. And here we are in February, and you're rocking and rolling. It seems like. Are you surprised at the speed?
I will answer like a typical investor. Okay. Yes and no. Okay. Yes, if I take off my, if I look at the big picture, okay, yes, I'm surprised at the speed. If I go back to looking at the tree, I don't think it's moving fast enough. That's just the issue. It's like I'd like the first three part to move faster, but they're big freaking aircraft carrier type of thing, with an entire flotilla of things. So they don't turn around on a dime. And fundamentally, what I'm telling them, okay, is all those pieces of equipment which are worth $1 billion in your financial statements, we're gonna make them worthless.
Absolutely.
You know how many times
Wow.
they heard yeah, and you know how many times these guys probably heard that? So they definitely have a show me attitude. And they're saying, who the hell is this guy, Bernard?
Sure. Can't blame them.
Okay. So the truth of the matter is, it's pretty funny because my CFO, I sent an email to my CFO about something, which had the entire list of communication with one of the guys. And you can definitely see at the first conversation we were having, it was really like, who the fuck are you? Are you serious? What the hell you're talking about? It's literally what it was.
I still say that.
Yeah, well, yeah, but and there's a lot of people saying that. There's a lot of people calling me other name, but that's another subject for another day. That was fundamentally their position. But they had how can I say this? A curiosity mind to say, okay, show me the money. Send me samples to me so I can test them. I don't give a shit what you say. Let me test it.
Sure. Of course.
On the whole, we can't publish the results, but we're still talking. Does it take a genius? And then they said, can you guys do 1,000 tons? Does it take a genius to figure out what the results are? No. So Fudster, everybody can say what they want. This is progressing as it should. Now, is it progressing fast enough? I'd love it to progress faster. But I'm also
you'd love
conscious.
George Calm Silicon to come out and say, "Hey, here's a check for, $100 million or 50 million, whatever. Let's partner together, Bernard. I love you." But
Yeah,
that's just not how fast. Again, like I said, we're not ordering a pizza here. We're not making a pizza.
Exactly. Now, we're not getting too much magical sauce secret. Okay, we're basically, as I said, there's two things for them now for us to prove. We can scale it up, as it'll do the financial make sense for them. Okay, well, we know the financial makes sense. This is because the financial makes sense because this is why the third guy came in and says, "Wait a minute, this makes sense. This is very, very profitable. I have. Oh, we can work together on this." Okay, so it's advancing as it should. Okay.
Yep.
I like to be able to issue that press release that says, XYZ company doing that many billions that's coming in and it won't exclude? Yes, I'd love to, but I'm not there yet. But I know that we will be there.
Well,
And the advantage
does all this activity, Bernard, confirm once and for all for you, for me, for the loyal shareholders, for the fundsters? Does this serve to confirm that Fumed Silica, in fact, is a big market? It is a growth market, and most important, it's in desperate need of a better manufacturing process. Does this wipe out any doubt about that?
The wiping out of all doubt will be there once we got the pilot plant working. Okay, the 100%. But you understand that a market is supposed to be a discounting of future events, but not that I say we're a normal market, but eventually this is where we're heading. Okay, this reality is coming online. There at this specific moment, there is no reason. There's absolutely no reason for us to doubt that that will be the end results. Zero. I'm very confident about it.
If that's the end result, then I want to ask you about an excerpt, a quote from the press release where he said, the strategy, I'm paraphrasing, the strategy is to scale capacity to meet fumed silica demand, including other 1,000 ton per year fumed silica reactors.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming you didn't say that. You didn't need to put that in this press release. You didn't need to say, I'm assuming now you're saying that because you've got pretty strong confidence, pretty strong reason to believe that this is going to happen, and you're already thinking forward that if this happens with this industrial group, that other reactors would be
if
on
it doesn't
happen.
If it doesn't happen with this industrial group, although I have no reason that way it won't happen, it will happen with somebody. Okay, the market demand is there, and I think I said that in my first interview. All right, just the growth in the market, okay, is sufficient, is big enough for us to start filling it. We're talking about I think we said that in the January 10 press release. I think the incremental growth is 5% compounded rate every year. We do about 5% of that 5%. So there's always going to be room for us. The number I threw you is 50 plants. Was just I wanted to see how big we could go, and even at 50 plants, we don't take that big of a big share of the market. So. And so, maybe this group of joint venture is going to come and say, we'll do this. And then the big guy's going to say, I want 20 of these plants. Or they're going to say, okay, we'll let you guys, because I sort of understand how big companies work. Okay. They sort of prefer that the small companies works out the kink when they're a small company, really get it working, and then come in and says, okay. But that because they don't mind paying, 10 times the price that it's worth now. Whatever the price is.
Do you expect, I started off this interview with saying every press release should make the phone ring. So will this press release that you put out yesterday, do you expect it to make the phone ring again? And that, now George Fumed Silica, who's been watching you or maybe discovered for the first time, do you expect even more activity to come out of this? Or would you be happy with these 3 NDAs with the actual manufacturers and this with the industrial group, and it looks like you have the recipe to accomplish your goals?
With what we have right now, we have the recipe. So it's going to be ongoing discussion with the parties we have to get it moving forward. I want to be able to have a pathway to start to say, okay, we're going to be starting to generating some revenues, and that are going to become serious. That's going to add massive value to the company, I believe. And that's what I'm focusing on. I'm not expecting, 20 phone calls right now. These companies right now are having existential issue with regard to their operational of their system. Not because the market isn't there, okay? Just because the cost of operating their system is higher. Remember, they get, they make 20% gross margin, and according to the numbers of the last quarter of a company, they make less than 20% on the division. And if they sell it in Europe, they end up losing that margin to taxes.
And that's only going to get worse. over
So,
time.
so,
That's only going to get worse for them over time.
so I fully understand that, some of the companies are going to say, you know what, we're going to focus on trying to, keep the boat afloat until better times arrive. Then go take a look at, Dreamboat Bernard with his thing, which is fine, but Bernard's proposition through HPQ and pyrogenesis is getting, the opportunity of not working, okay, is very small. That's what I said. We're going to be in the last interview, I said, we will eventually be an overnight success, but it took us a few years. So I want to make it very, very clear to people. Okay. I didn't mean it'll take us years in the future. I'm thinking the years that we've worked here. So be clear.
Right.
I believe
You're
that
the overnight 7-year success story, but you put in those 7 years.
We've already put in those
now
7
you're
years.
starting to really make waves.
Yeah.
By the way, because we keep talking about Europe and the European carbon taxes. So safe to assume that Europe is going to be a major customer for you, and that's where we could expect. I'm not talking about this one with the industrial group, but if you're going to have 50, 50 of these one day, 20 of those, 10 or 15 of those might be in Europe.
Okay.
Because those carbon taxes are so punitive to the existing manufacturers that you have to be.
Yeah, but you got to remember, you got to be able to have a low carbon energy source. Because the beauty of our process is we need two things, okay? Pure core, 99%, green electricity. That's it. That's all what we need. That's all what we need. As long as those two criteria are relatively there, then it goes to the how much does the energy, the company generating the energy is willing to sell it to you for. That's the third variable into it.
This is assuming there's going to be a lot of government help there as well, though, right? If you say, hey, we want to build one of these in Greece because they've got great hydro dams there or something like that, and it's going to cost us this much, that you're going to have the Greek market or Norway or Quebec or whatever say, hey, we'll kick in some money here to make it even cheaper for you because this is an important matter and we're throwing money at this. Or am I oversimplifying it?
It could be, but the economics of it are so strong that we don't really need the government money. It's not the same thing as building a gigafactory. There's a few billions of dollars.
Yeah, you're pretty confident where the cheap sources. Obviously, when you talk about how cheap it is to operate, you're going on the assumption that this would be located somewhere where you've already looked at your energy costs. I'm assuming you need to pull the number out of the air.
Well, we play around. We play around with these numbers. We do what's called studies of economic studies of variation. It plays into it at the end. At the end, we reduce so much the quantity of energy needed. Okay.
Last question, because I always like to address some of the criticism out there, but save it for I shouldn't even save it for last. I should talk about more in between. But you still have some critics, and I'm not even sure if the critics or if they're not actually, paid critics, but who are saying, "Oh, this is just another NDA."
Yeah.
Right. So I don't care about them, but nonetheless, there may be your great loyal long shareholders might be thinking another NDA. Well, how do you respond to that so everyone has a proper, proper understanding of why NDAs are so important?
No contracts that are going to be signed. Okay. I've never heard of any contract signed without starting with an NDA. So NDA is the opening door. All right. So the more NDAs you do, the more opportunity you have to end up having a contract or something commercially valuable. In this specific case, the reason why I published it, okay, is because I wanted investors to understand the following differentiation between this NDA and the 3 other previous NDAs. The first 3 NDAs were big silicon fume silica people, okay, that were saying, who is that crazy guy in Montreal trying to make fume silica? And you think he can make fume silica in 1 step? What is he smoking? All right. Now we got that part resolved. Okay. I'm not smoking anything. We've actually done it. We send samples. They've studied it. And we've independently validated that with McGill University. Yes, McGill University is an independent. University is an independent. But so that's one thing. Then in January 10th, we published a scoping study to get people to understand the financial numbers. Okay. Now, a lot of people criticize this. Oh, why publish this? It's not worth anything. Well, lo and behold, that got us this group that says, ooh, this is very interesting. It fits within what we're looking to do. Maybe there is a potential for an opportunity to work together. That's where we're at. It's the logical progression. You cannot get a contract if you don't start with an NDA. I don't announce every one of my NDAs, but at this specific state, I think it's important for people to understand that for me, the differentiation between this NDA and the 3 previous one is this one is finally going toward monetization, generating revenues. How are we going to build that? Okay. And if we can find a way that is less dilutive for HPQ shareholders, because that's going to be one of the big arguments, are you going to pay for all this? You're going to issue tons of shares at these prices because they're going to say, you're going to have to issue them like even cheaper than now. So, no, joint venture. We have a lot of capital in what we've invested. That's worth something. And that's what we're working on.
Joint venture gets financed on the project side, not on the stock side. So exactly. You guys will split expenses to build the reactor or the plant or whatever it is that you need.
That's still open to discussion. But the fundamental idea is, I think it's a right way to doing the commercialization.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That's it.
Plus, at the same time, Bernard, it also it de-risks it a little bit, right? Because if you go all in, you say we're gonna build a plant, so Goldman Sachs has to give you a few $1 million. You got to dilute the stock, then you got to build it yourself. Then you're going it alone, and there's more risk. Whereas if you work these NDA ecosystem you got going here properly, everyone's shouldering the risk, and all you're doing is giving up part of the project, which is fine because you're not diluting the stock. Yes, you're diluting the end result technically at the end of the day, but that's a much better outcome. And that's what most companies do anyways, right?
Oh, yeah. But
than trying to go it alone.
Technically R&D company, okay? The business model of which people finance the business, we'll get a royalty from a bigger person, okay? We'll just be happy with a royalty and get that going. In this specific case, I feel very comfortable. We can start having the plan, and we can have one of the 3 parties says, okay, we'll take an offtake agreement. We'll take care of the marketing of it. So basically, for us, it's the best of all worlds. Then we start to have cash flow, demonstration of success, which is the normal pathway. You do realize that to get a mining project, that used to be my background, from the first drill hole to the mine is what? 20 years? About. We've done it much faster than that. This is the year where we're doing this. And HPQ, by its nature of its project, okay, is doing that in 3 big verticalities: fumed silica, battery work, hydrogen. So,
well, on the fumed silica side, buddy, you continue to hit it out of the park. I love how fast and furious this has risen. And you've always said that fumed silica would be the first, even though it came along almost last. You said this would be the first one to really start paying off, and it's looking good. You still got to get there. There's no guarantees of that, like you said in the press release, but it's looking good. And I think I speak on behalf of all shareholders, Bernard, when I say another great milestone. Congratulations, and more importantly, continued success to getting all these, on paper and commercialized, my friend.
Thank you.
For everybody at home, you've been watching or been listening by podcast on Spotify, Google, Apple, your favorite podcast platform. To Bernard Tourillon, the CEO at HPQ Silicon, trades in Canada, HPQ. For our friends in the US, HPQFF. If you love what you hear, you want to do more due diligence, get over the company's website. It's one of the best websites I've seen for information in terms of what's on the website. The decks are incredibly helpful. And Bernard, I think we're due for another Beyond the Deck pretty soon to go maybe through the Fumed Silica
Fumed
deck.
Silica one,
So yeah, on top of that, we even have these walkthrough videos that we do together. So hopefully you've heard something amazing today for everyone, for anyone that's new, and for the existing shareholders. Hopefully you love what you heard. Make sure to spread the word, share this interview, share the clips, and let's get more people involved in HPQ Silicon. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. See you next time.
See you next time.
Hey Small Cap fam, I hope you loved this interview because more than a dozen people were involved in its production for the sole purpose of making you happy. If so, can you take a moment to support both our awesome guest company and Agora.com? Your engagement means the world to us. First, if you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up by tapping that like button. It's a small gesture that helps this interview reach even more potential investors to discover today's guest. Second, we would love to hear your feedback on this interview, so please leave a comment below. Be sure to keep it clean, but feel free to poke fun at George. If you loved what you heard on today's video and want to dig into our guest company right away, take a look at the links in the description below. And while you're at it, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell to never miss another great Agora.com small cap video. Thank you so much. We couldn't do any of this without you. Make sure to come back soon.